Hello guys, how are we bloody doing? I hope you are well. Today's video is a master gameplay of TUSCAN Hardpoint where I go 40 to 18, so just over a 2 KD, I think it's a 2.2 KD, something like that, and we play super solid as a team. The purpose of the video I'm going to be doing here is basically just going to be talking about what I normally do. I analyse my gameplays for those of you who want to learn how to improve yours. Some of you guys find it quite useful, and this game is going to be more like focused towards spawns and how I'm reading spawns and things like that, because I know when I'm talking through it normally it's more about reading plays and things like that, and so I sort of skim over the spawns and I take it for granted that I sort of know the logic behind spawns anyway. So I'm going to be going into a bit of a deeper dive whilst talking through this video and how I exactly am reading spawns and knowing players' positions as a team and things like that. So as I say, I dropped 40 kills and only die 18 times. As a team, we play really well. We get the whole team gets between a minute and a minute and a half or so of hill time, so it's a fairly balanced team. The guys I'm playing against are, I think the team's one master and a few elites, so not the hardest team in the world, which is why I think we managed to do so well. But yeah, let's get straight into it. So first off, when you're playing P2 on hardpoint, chances are, if you've got someone, you pretty much want someone on time, someone on your left watching their P5 push, watching that essentially, and they will be spawning low mid. So if you spawn back church here, you can nearly guarantee they'll be spawning front mid, which is why I'm sort of picking this up here. I'm letting my teammate, hit hill, seeing as there will be 3 of them. And most of the time, the enemy team will spawn front mid, so they'll be either pushing you through front church, they'll be going top church, or a typical thing that a lot of the higher skill players do is push through well or through P1 just here where I died. But again, because I know I'm still spawning here, they'll be still spawning mid-side. And that's the best way to know where an enemy team is spawning. You want to look where your team is spawning, where you've just spawned in, and where sort of open on the map for them to be spawning in. There are squad spawns on this game, so essentially if another their spawn will be heavily influenced by if another player of on their team is sort of alive in a certain area. Sorry, the hay fever is still going, so if I sound a bit bunged up, that is why. I appreciate the remedies you guys were suggesting in the comments a couple of videos ago. It did help, and I'm on the mend. Hopefully it doesn't last too long. So right here, they can either spawn. There's a few ways that they can spawn. They can either spawn mid, P1 on the left of like the field sort of area, or tiles, and you really want to use where your teammates are spawning and your teammates' position to determine whereabouts they will be spawning. Because I know I'm looking at the mini-map here, my teammates are all spawning to the right side of me here, the enemies would have been coming from the left, so on and so forth. Whereas if my teammates would have been spawning P1 side, I could have almost guaranteed they're either coming through fire steps or on the right hand side here. Breaking into P4, which is this lovely church spawn. I'm just having a look here what's going on. We're getting a few kills. My teammates just died, so I'm very keen to see where my teammates spawned in. They've spawned P1. So my teammates spawned P1. That means the enemies are spawning P2, which is back right of the map as I'm looking at it currently, and back church. So that guy probably ran up green steps and killed me there. I just didn't quite read it quite as well. It was an easy break for them. It was me being dumb and being stagnant, just really focusing on where they were spawning, to be honest. Nearly with that kill, but thankfully managed to pull it through. So we just spawned P2, which says to me that they're spawning front mid or P1, that sort of area. So whenever we're holding the point, we need to be making sure that we've got mid covered and we have the P1 push covered. But yeah, our team managed to pick up a few kills. They do well. Yeah, and we're moving into P5. P5 is one of the most difficult things to know where you're spawning. Unless you've got teammates spawning in, which obviously tells you. This is if that's the case, it's very easy to tell where people are spawning, because they either spawn one point of the hill or the other. Now this is a weird hill to win. It's very coin toss of it's a coin toss of a hill, because it's just a shit show. Let's be fair. My best suggestion for this hill to break in it is just get as much damage as you possibly can in there, whether it's throwing grenades, whether it's even throwing stuns. If you notice they've got trophies, communicate to your team that stuns need to be thrown, because a trophy can only handle 3 throwables at once. Yeah, throwing stuns in first is a benefit. But I see a lot of people not utilising their grenades on this hill. You really want to get your nade damage out before you even do anything else. And even though you might die, just spray. Like, you can see me here, I'm dying a lot on this hill, and a lot of people do die a lot on this hill unless they're playing a bit creddy, playing a bit like Shotsy, that sort of, that weird SMG playstyle. But really, as an AR or as a main, like in any sort of role, really, your main objective is going to be just getting as much damage as you can, so your teammates can hopefully just spray through and get a couple of kills. So looking at the radar here, I'm reading spawns. A teammate has died on my left, and I've got a teammate on the right who's just been flanking, which says to me our team are going to be spawning behind me in like the fire side of the map, whereas the enemy team are going to be spawning either just there or mid. They're going to be coming. So I think in general, the easiest way to determine where the enemy team is spawning is looking where your teammates are spawning and where your teammates are situated on the map. Because that's going to be determining where the enemy team is going to spawn at the end of the day. So we're trying to flip spawns here because obviously P2 is on the other side of the map. And we're spawning quite far out, as you can see here. So we are conscious of trying to flip spawns out, which is why I pushed forward when we had 4 down, just so I could try and get some sort of map control through their side of the map. But I wasn't successful. They spawned in a lot closer than I thought they would. So right here, if you can obtain this hill control from this side of the map, you're laughing, because they will keep spawning in the back. And you'll have spawns ready for the next hill. The worst thing you want to be doing is flipping spawns on this hill when it's too little too late. A good way to determine and try and remember where you... So in that circumstance, I know the enemy team is spawning in the back, because that's the way it is. And I spawned mid. Now, every time you spawn in, this is where experience comes in. So right here, I spawned back church, which means I know there's players mid and there's players pushed out to new. There's people rotating, which is exactly right. This comes with experience, but the more you spawn, the more you get to know to read spawns, because every time you spawn in, there's a reason why you're spawning in that situation. So for example, let's say here, I spawned church. So that means there's going to be a player sort of... I mean, this is a bit of a weird one because it's going to be obvious where they are anyway. But because I spawned front church, it means there's going to be a player P1 side, because I would have spawned there otherwise. And it means there's obviously players in the hill, maybe one at tiles, that sort of thing. So if you spawn mid on this hill, you can safely assume that there's going to be player holding P1 and there's going to be player holding tiles. Whereas if you spawn on the right or in P1 or on tiles, you're gonna, you know, it's an easy way to determine they're going to be spawning the opposite side. There's only 17 seconds left, so I'm thinking about the rotation already here. And a hold I like to have is, if I can get P2 control, which is where I am currently, it will force the enemy team to spawn mid/P1. Which makes an easy job for me, because as an AR you can hold that P1 lane really nicely, which is what I'm trying to do here. But as a teammate of mine is pushing through, I get that easy intel. And because I've already pushed through P2, it means my teammates are spawning in the back. I've gained spawns for my team, and as an AR, which is the role I'm playing in this game, that is a vital part of, you know, the game we have here. So my team is still spawning in the back, which means I know the enemy team are going to be spawning mid/P1. So I'm communicating right. As long as you've got front, I've got your P1 control. Unfortunately, my team died. And I got a shot on there. So we're still spawning back tank, which means they're still going to be spawning P1s or front. It's as simple as that, lads. I know Vanguard spawns were a bit wacky when we were first introduced to it, because it was unlike any other spawns that we've had before, other than Modern Warfare. But coming from Cold War, where it was very traditional spawn system, to this, it did take some adjustment. But once you get to know it, once you've played a lot of reps in the game, it becomes fairly logical. So I'm conscious of the time. We need 15 seconds, and I'm thinking, you know what? And this was actually quite good. I was playing with a mate at the time called Hayden HS, and he was on the other side of the hill. I was thinking, just stay up, stay up. I'm on the flank. Just give me time. We need 15 seconds here. Let me just make them, you know, get some sort of distractions going. And we orchestrated this push perfectly. He managed to pick up a 3-piece in hill because everyone was on a swivel focus towards me, because they didn't expect me to be there. So they panicked as soon as I shot, and you know, that's part of playing. That's part of being a good player, is just making sure that the enemies are You know, and you don't always. I know it's not solo queuing, and a lot of you guys are solo queuing. You can't always orchestrate that sort of pinch when you're solo queuing, but hey, you gotta work with what you work with. So that's the game. I played it. I think I played it pretty well. I went 40 to 18. We had the fundamentals down as a team that game, and we played spawns really well. And I've hoped I've sort of widened your eyes to how spawns essentially work when you're playing hardpoint on TUSCAN. And I'll finish it off here. This is the 3-piece my teammate got while I pinched. And yeah, that's the game. Enjoy the rest of your day, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one. Ciao.